I'm 10 years old sitting on the blacktop. I'm sitting in a circle with a group of girls. I used to be part of an after-school program called Girls on the Run that focused on empowering little girls while training them to run a 5K. And as we're sitting in this circle on that blacktop, right before our first run, we start talking. And today's discussion is about relationships and about surrounding ourselves with people who empower and enable and encourage and inspire. But for some reason, I can tell that this conversation is about something else. After practice, I get in the car with my dad, and as I'm sitting there in that passenger seat, dread overcomes me. I am sitting there completely overwhelmed, absolutely terrified, because I know something's wrong. What I didn't know is that Child Protective Services was waiting at my doorstep. Because a week prior, I had told my fourth grade teacher that my dad hit my mom. And being a mandated reporter, she had to call CPS. And on the way back home, as I sat in that passenger seat, dreaded with fear, I remember my dad telling me I had done an unspeakable thing. And so we walked inside and I met the CPS lady. And as I sat across the table from her with my little sister by my side, she started asking questions. But my dad was standing in the doorway this entire time. And as she asked these questions, she realized he was still there, so she asked him to leave. But I knew as he closed the door, he was standing right behind it, listening to everything I was saying. And so here was 10-year-old little me trying to figure out what to do. And the CPS woman asked me questions about what had happened and who it had happened to, and I had absolutely no idea what to say. Because on one hand, I knew something was wrong, and on the other, I knew that my dad was listening. So in the easiest way possible, I said what I needed to say in the quietest voice I could. The woman left, and nothing happened. For 5 years, my father abused not only my mother, but me. And it wasn't something I could talk about. No one was supposed to know. Ultimately, my mom was able to leave. She got an out, and that was also my out. I moved out of my father's house, and I started writing articles about the things I had experienced, the things I had seen, what I was dealing with. And in all this time of having conversations with strangers, I had never had a conversation with my mother. Sophomore year of high school, I'm on my speech and debate team. I'm at nationals, and I'm on stage, and I'm talking about how toxic it is that our society lives in the past. And I talk about how my mom taught me that. I talk about how my mom, who was in an abusive relationship of 20 years, finally found her way out. And as I'm standing on stage, the speech doesn't matter anymore. The competition doesn't matter anymore. The award doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that my mom is standing right in front of me as I'm speaking. And I can look at her and say, I believe in you. I am proud of you, and I support you. And as I get off that stage, my mom comes up to me and she says, I don't care if you don't win. You got here, and that's what matters. You know, as I was packing up to come here for this trip, I actually brought along the duffel bag that I got 10 years ago from Girls on the Run. I had absolutely no idea until this morning. And when I look at it, it reminds me of that little girl frozen with fear, knowing that she had to say something, but not knowing how. But when I look at it, I also see the little girl who got out, who's standing here on stage speaking to you without fear.